Hello guys, it's Ling and welcome to the third tutorial video made for amateur level Autobunnyhoppers. We've got a lot to discuss, so let's get right into it. So this video will contain a lot of educational information, including what you should know and which skills from outside the game mode can be useful in Autobunnyhop. I recommend looking into the description of the video so you don't have to listen to what you might already know. But right now we're going to talk about the importance of surfing. In a nutshell, surf is a separate game mode where the main goal of a player is to learn to surf on ramps, where if you hold the strafe key that corresponds to the side where the top of the ramp is located, you could stay on the ramp without failing and begin balancing on it by moving your mouse left and right. Just like in bhop, vertical movement has no effect on surfing, just helps you see where you're going. There are many great videos that can teach you how to surf properly, but I'll just give a little exercise if you don't want to waste too much time. Just hop on the ramp and try balancing on it by moving your camera right and left and not fall. Now, why do you need that? There are a lot of different maps that often use ramps as a map design feature, and ability to surf can save you time and make your life easier. That's why I would recommend spending from 20 to 50 hours on surf servers. This should be enough to reach a level that would be good enough for most bhop maps. So let's move on. So we have discussed one neighboring game mode, now let's talk about the other one. KZ or Kreedz Climbing, also known as XC, is a game mode that is compared to Autobunnyhop, and in my opinion, far too often. Most of the time it has a context of a kid joining a bhop server and starting to say something like, "Yo guys, how can I turn off this shitty Autobunnyhop? I'm no noob, I wanna scroll." Or somebody comes here and tries to bhop with a scroll while Autobhop is on, which in my opinion doesn't make any sense, as the strafing technique differs tremendously on both game modes. Especially quite often, a lot of people start looking down on those who hold space instead of pressing it or scrolling, as if it is for the weak and only true men can scroll. So let us spend a bit of time discussing that. So what's the difference? Long story short, in KZ, bhoppers and runners have no possibility of consistently saving speed after a couple of jumps, as there is a certain speed limit that they cannot exceed and a bit of randomness that makes fighting for distance a main goal for a KZ runner. Whether these are long jumps where one has to cover a huge distance in a single jump, or bhop KZ maps, also known as BKZ, where because of constant speed loss a runner has to make an insane amount of strafes with each jump to cover bigger distances than other runners. And again, in KZ people need distance. The one who flies further can finish a map quicker than the other one if there is no skill gap between the compared two. Now let us talk about Autobunnyhop for a minute. There is no visible speed limit in Autobunnyhop. The speed doesn't go down if you land, and the main goal of a runner in Bunnyhop is to get as much speed as possible in the least amount of time to cover as many blocks as possible. The faster you get that speed, the higher is your strafing potential. And again, in Bunnyhop, people focus on getting speed. The one who has more of it completes maps faster. Of course, this doesn't mean that the former ones don't need speed and the latter ones don't need the distance, but there is a higher priority given to one of the aspects when it comes to strafing. Yes, let me repeat myself, strafing. Take a closer look at how people strafe in KZ. Short and flicky strafes, which in rare cases can exceed a dozen. The more strafes you do, the further you fly. Compare these to the strafes of runners in Autobhop. Wide and smooth, usually not exceeding 2 or 3 strafes per jump. Why is that? The answer is that both sides stick to a single rule. The more strafes you do, the further you jump, but less speed you get. The reason for it is that when you strafe, in between strafes there is transition pauses during which you don't get any speed. The more strafes you do, the more pauses you have, and subsequently less speed. KZers are great at getting distance due to their skill of doing many strafes. Autobunnyhoppers are good at getting speed. This makes them squeeze all the juices out of several strafes, strafing smoothly and getting rid of all the pauses. So to sum this up, if you want to learn to strafe on Autobunnyhop, you have to realize that a higher amount of strafes rarely gives a better result. So you better learn how to do only a few strafes per jump, but do them with high quality in mind. And well, It's time to realize that if you would like to learn to bunny hop in matchmaking, you're better off trying to learn it on KZ or BKZ maps or on Bunnyhop servers with scroll mode on them. Now let us talk about map difficulties. In Bunnyhop, there is no official, only an absolutely subjective map tiering. Everybody has their own numbers, names, and understanding in mind, so I'll just give mine. There are 6 difficulty tiers, which can be divided into 3 groups: easy, medium, and difficult maps. Tier 1, I also call it easy low, together with Tier 2 easy high, forms the first group of maps. Tier 3 and Tier 4, aka medium low and medium high, form a second group of medium difficulty maps. And the last but not the least is Tier 5 difficult low and Tier 6 difficult high for the last group of difficult maps. Only experienced and patient bhoppers can complete these maps. So the map tiering is dependent on several things, but as there is no official tiering, everybody has their own subjective understanding of tier. The tier number can be dependent and influenced by such things like tick rate, block size, distance between blocks, obstacles, height difference between blocks, presence of serves, spirals, and several other parameters. I would recommend deciding early on what you would want to concentrate on. If you want to be good at strafing, then you should stick to playing lower tiers like Tier 1 or Tier 2. Or you could learn movement control, which we will talk about in the next part, by playing higher ticks, which will make you climb the tier ladder. Well, you might have noticed that I've mentioned Tickrate, and there is a reason for it. Tickrate is another topic I'd like to discuss. Servers in CSGO have several tick rates, and changing them doesn't only influence the smoothness of the picture, but also influences the amount of speed that you can get during a strafe. And also it influences the amount of speed that you lose by flicking with the same mouse movement speed on different tick rates. Also, a higher tick rate can remove randomness from trying to climb high blocks, but let's not get too deep into it. There are 4 main tick rates in CSGO: 64, 85, 100, and 128. I like to point out that if you ever see such tick rates like 85.3 or 102.4, you should know that these are actually the 85 and 100 tick. The server changes them to these numbers automatically. The higher is the tick rate, the more speed you get by strafing, and less speed you lose by flicking. So here the thing is that if you actually do want to get more speed, you would need to strafe faster. So keep in mind that if your sense is low, you'll have to move your mouse a lot if you're playing 128 tick. The choice is subjective. One tick rate is not better than the other, but there is something that should be noted. The lower is the tick rate, the harder are the maps, and this could be a great choice for somebody who likes being competitive in completing maps rather than speedrunning them. Lower ticks can give a real challenge both on mid and high tier maps. The high tick rate, on the other hand, is a place for active competition that provides the player with a much higher skill ceiling of strafing and shows who's actually the best when it comes to strafing. Also, high tick rates are known to be a place where people prioritize competing for a better time rather than just completing the map. It is here where you see all the videos of high tier bhoppers uploaded to such YouTube channels like Source Jump, Phased Hops, Global Jumps, and other great Bunnyhop YouTube channels. So low ticks are 64 and 85, while the high ticks are 100 and 128. You can check the server tick rate by typing net_graph space 1 into console. And while we are on the topic of console commands, I highly recommend to get used to using binds if you haven't started yet. Binds for no-clip, for map restart, for teleport to bonus, and so-called practice binds can be very convenient and useful. One thing though, you should always unbind these before you start running high tier and long maps. To make a bind, open your console and type bind space key space command. For instance, to teleport to the start of the map, you would need to type R into chat. So when you type R R into chat, it sends some kind of a signal to from chat to console, which activates a command SM_R and teleports you to the start. So we have 2 choices. We can either make a bind that would write R into chat instead of us, or we can make a bind that would activate the console command by itself. So here are the examples of both. It's either bind key, for instance, Y, then say R, or bind key like Y SM_R. So the same can be done with other commands as well. For instance, here you can see the commands that can be used on a ckserve timer, sm_nc for no clip, sm_b to teleport to bonus, sm_cp to make a checkpoint, and sm_prac to teleport to that checkpoint. And that would be it. In the next video for amateurs, we're going to be talking about things connected with technique, and we'll also learn a couple of useful tricks, so see you there!